down. They're just getting started. This is South Coast Tonight with Chris McCarthy and Marcus Farrow. They've got you covered on all the news of the day, from local issues to politics on both sides of the aisle. This is the place where the movers and shakers come to be heard, to listen, and where they're held accountable. This is South Coast Tonight on WBSM.
Welcome to South Coast Tonight. Thanks for joining me this evening. I'm Marcus Farrow. Chris McCarthy will be back tomorrow. But I'm joined now by our friends at Vineyard Wind, former Ward 4 City Councilor Dana Rebeiro. Hi, Dana.
Well, hello. So good to be back.
Great to have you back. Us. And Dan Kent. Dan, how are you?
Good. How are you?
You got to move the microphone like right here. You can move it if you want to.
How's that?
That's perfect. That's
cool.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so last time you were here, we talked about a job fair that you guys had planned, which I heard was very successful.
It was.
And now you have another one planned. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so the last one we were at overcapacity, and the companies that attended were so thrilled with the people that came. They love seeing New Bedford, and they want to see more of it and meet more people because they have jobs and they have opportunities. So this one is going to be next Thursday on the 12th. It's going to be held at the community center, the Andre McCoy Recreation Center on Hillman Street, and it'll be from 3 to 7.
Great.
And we have, don't let me talk all the time, Dan, we have how many companies?
Yeah, sure. So right now we have 45 organizations coming, 36 of which are hiring. 9 of them are there as educational organizations to get you up to speed if you need it. Initial numbers are 164 open positions. About a third are ready to pop now, and the next couple months we'll be filling the other 2/3.
So a third of those 164 positions you can be hired and get to work. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
it's a great opportunity. So what kind of jobs are available?
Yeah. Well, so outside of the trades, we have a project labor agreement with all the trade unions. So
yes,
there's iron workers, electricians, the whole gambit. Outside of that, we've got a couple tier 1 contractors coming. So GE will be there, Lawrence Lynch, Semco, JDR, JDN. So kind of site jobs, in-office jobs, technician jobs, survey, environmental science.
It really is
jobs,
a little bit of everything. So it doesn't matter what your what your skill level is. There's probably a place for you. I mean, there's protected species observers. It's like a bowl of choop. There's a little bit of everything in there.
So we're speaking with our friends from Vineyard Wind, Dana Rebeiro and Dan Kent. There's a job fair January 12th, 3 to 7 at the Andre McCoy Recreation Center on Hillman Street in New Bedford. So if someone's got, let's say, someone's got a kid, or, they're in between jobs, they might need to get something to eat. Is that accommodation provided for?
Absolutely. There's childcare provided on site. We're partnered with New Bedford's Parks, Beaches, and Recreation. So, yes, absolutely. If you have a child, they can be taken care of while you walk around and look for a career change. And we are serving food, and this is the coolest part. So Trinity Day Academy has a culinary school.
Oh, cool.
So we've hired them to cater.
That's excellent.
It is awesome. And they're doing a taste of New Bedford. They came up with the menu. So you get a choice of 2 soups, either kale or chowder, and linguiça sandwich or casola sandwich. So young people will be working and making money, and so excited to have them there.
What are some of the advantages of getting in the ground level in the offshore wind industry?
Well, I mean, the great thing is it's a very level playing field, because in America, nobody's doing it. So when you get in, there's certainly training, but you're in, this is the future. So this is happening now until 30, 40, 50 years from now. So there's job security, and you can grow with companies like anything else. You start one way in a company, and maybe you want to develop, but there are people already in place, so you kind of have to stay where you are. I feel like with Wind, there's not only opportunity to get in, but to grow.
So, Dan, is there Is there some of these jobs probably require some prerequisite training in some sort of trade, but some of them people could start right away and maybe get training as part of the job. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So for any job going offshore, you need to get Global Wind Organization training, GWO. Those are being offered now at Mass Maritime and very soon at Bristol Community College, both of which will be at the job fair.
Can you
Sure.
Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
Great.
Yeah. So you said at the National Wind Offshore Wind Institute. I was there it was probably like a year ago. Congressman Keating was there.
We were both there.
You were there. Yep. Elizabeth Warren, Auchincloss, Ed Markey. They were all there. But at that juncture, it was just sort of a site.
Right.
There were pictures of this is what will be here. How far along is that development now with NOWI, the National Offshore Wind Institute?
I honestly do not know. I am sorry. That's like, we're so separate because we're with Vineyard Wind in there. So I really can't answer that. And I wouldn't want to make an answer that's incorrect.
Of course.
But it will be exciting when it's done.
And people who want to get into this field in a meaningful way, I think, will be able to enjoy the training courses
right.
and benefit from them
and
a
Bristol
great deal.
Community College has some training courses. I'm sure Mass Dartmouth is looking into expanding what they have. You look in Boston, Ben Franklin Institute, which now has the ability, you can go totally remote and online. So there's lots of opportunity for people to get education and growth.
So where can people go to perhaps like they're listening now, they want to find out more, they want to get the detail, like they want to maybe get the details, like they can get a picture of it or they can write it down. Where can people go to learn more about this?
Yeah, sure. So the Vineyard Wind website is always an option. We're also partnered with the New Bedford Ocean Cluster on this one.
Yep.
So their website, their events calendar is definitely another option. Eventbrite, if you guys want to register on Eventbrite, please go. There'll be a little more info there. And of course, Parks and Rec, our other partner on this.
I actually just had John Bullard on a few weeks ago from
Mayor Bullard.
Yeah, former Mayor Bullard, president of the Ocean Cluster. We talked a lot about offshore wind, and
They are the other partner.
They are the other partner.
Yes,
yeah.
I get the pleasure of meeting with him every week. Does he not tell the best stories?
He has such a narrative gift.
He really
does. Yeah, he was really. I just sort of met him in passing, and then I had him on for about an hour conversation, and it was really engaging stuff. I really enjoyed it. But he had said that the national, and I've heard this from other elected officials and people talking about this, that the offshore wind industry can be what Whaling was from New Bedford in terms of elevating it to a city of real prosperity. Is that hyperbole, or do you guys believe that as well?
I absolutely agree. And the other benefit is it will be equitable, right? Because in Whaling, there's only a slight population that made money, and then there were the people that did the work, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is more equitable because these careers pay great wages, and like I said, the ability to work your way up if you desire.
Yeah, there's been. I remember the labor agreement that was signed. That was a really hot day.
I was going to say that
It was
was
a really hot day.
unforgivable. Were you in a suit?
I was just in. I had khakis on, which
You're
was
smart.
a mistake. Well, no, I could have had shorts. I should have had shorts.
Oh, yeah.
But it felt like that was a little bit underdressed for the moment. I don't know.
Everybody
that was
was
just press.
melting. I was
That was
melting.
terrible.
It was crazy.
I was talking to somebody who was a staffer, and I after everybody had talked and the papers were signed, I'd said, "Should I go?" And then he said, "I'd go if I could go." So get out of here. But the point I'm trying to make is, that was the reason why everybody stayed there and listened to the speeches and saw the signatures, that it was a historic agreement because that basically ensured that a lot of this labor would be locally sourced, correct?
Yes, absolutely. That's in the PLA. The amount of women and BIPOC people that will be hired. I mean, we're really trying to, and I don't want to say do something different. I feel like a lot of people have the intention, but we're putting the teeth behind it. Right. And I think that's important because when you put down the numbers, now you have to get as close to them as you can or explain why you didn't. And then you need to think about how next time you can get close to these numbers. So it's important to have goals.
So you guys really put the pressure on yourselves to get this done.
Yeah. I mean, Dan and I have been working on this very, very hard, and we have goals with this career fair about how many people we want to see in the door. We know there's 163 jobs, so we want to keep track to see people getting hired and maybe come on and give you a report afterwards of the
Love
success.
that.
But this is I'm very passionate about this. I love the city, but also this is a new industry and opportunity not only for New Bedford, but when we get this right, and I say when because we will, for other cities to replicate what we're doing.
So last time it was at the Harbor Hotel.
Yes,
is that correct?
What a beautiful spot that was.
So how did that go? What was the event like?
The last time?
Yeah.
The last time it was, we were over capacity. And so they were kind enough to give us extra room. But I mean, there were just so many people there. The companies were thrilled to meet and talk to so many people. Within a week or two later, they had a great deal of interviews. I have to say, I dropped the ball in not continuing to talk with them about how many people were hired after that, because with this job, like Dan and I do like 4 different jobs. So it's hard to follow one thing when things are constantly thrown at you. And then we already knew we had to do another one. So with this one, some of the differences will be the location. It'll be 2 floors. Parking, because people were like, downtown, the parking situation.
It's difficult.
Andre McCoy has 2 beautiful big parking lots. Also, the fact that we're having young people participate so much, that they're doing the catering. We recently brought on a student ambassador. So she'll be working on this and other things as well.
Cool.
And just getting so many more companies there. So the only missing piece is to get people from the South Coast through those doors.
We're speaking with Dan Kent and Dana Rebeiro from Vineyard Wind. They're here talking about a job fair that they're having January 12th, 3 to 7 p.m. What day is that on?
Thursday.
So next Thursday.
Yes.
Next Thursday, January 12th, 3 to 7 p.m. at the Andre McCoy Rec Center on Hillman Street. I'm sure a lot of listeners are familiar with that. You can go to, what was the website again, Dan?
Just Vineyard Wind 1.
Vineyard Wind? Okay, Vineyard Wind 1. So just again on the...
No, wait, do you know who Andre McCoy is?
Yeah, you know what's funny? Actually, Andre McCoy, someone called in and asked about Andre McCoy, and I was kind of vaguely familiar. And then Scott Lima had called in and said, I knew Andre McCoy. I went to high school with him.
He did not.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he had just happened to be listening. Andre McCoy was a young, talented boxer who had tragically passed in a plane crash, I believe, on the way to the Olympics.
Right.
I heard he was obviously an excellent boxer, and Scott Lima had said an incredibly nice person. So this place is dedicated in his honor, and I think a great venue for this showcase that really highlights an industry that's going to move the city forward. So Dan, just again on the jobs, how many jobs are you guys pitching here, and how many should be basically ready to go on day one?
Yeah, 164 over the next couple months. We'll say about a third right now.
So we're speaking with Dan Kent and Dana Rebeiro from Vineyard Wind. Again, the jobs fair is January 12th, 3 to 7 at the Andre McCoy Recreation Center, 181 Hillman Street in New Bedford. So is there anything else that we haven't covered, anything else that we're missing in talking about this event?
No, I just ask people to please come. If you have a child or a grandchild that you think might be interested, or if you're in the middle of your career and you want to switch, come through, sign up. If you can't sign up there, you certainly can come anyway. If you can't sign up before, look for me. I'm really excited to see everyone. And if you need anything while you're there and you see me, please ask.
Dana Rebeiro, Dan Kent, Vineyard Wind, thanks so much for joining me. Thank you for letting us know about this important event. I will try to be there. I've got this show, obviously, and I've got a meeting in Fairhaven, but I should be able to make the very beginning. So I'll be there right at 3.
Okay, good.
All right, when the doors open.
Sounds good.
All right, I got to take this break. We'll be right back. This is South Coast Tonight.
WBSF.
This is South Coast Tonight. I think Adam Bass is going to call in tomorrow. You know, it's kind of crazy over there up in Boston. I appreciate him trying to make the accommodation, but he went to the inauguration and covered it. He went to the inauguration and of Maura Healey and Kim Driscoll at the TD Garden and recorded some of her speech. And he'll have an article up on WBSM.com, and he'll be able to call us tomorrow to give us some more of his impressions of what exactly happened at the, report on what exactly happened at the inauguration. Really appreciate Adam being on the ground for us for a lot of things that, I'm unable to go to because I'm here. And a lot of the, everybody else has got other stuff going on. Adam's really been a great asset as a contributor here, being on the ground at these important events like Hero's inauguration, like Maura Healey and Kim Driscoll's inauguration. I will try to. I have the audio of just some questions I had asked Maura Healey. Actually, yesterday, not yesterday, 2 days ago. Yeah, two days ago. Maybe I'll grab it now. Maybe I'll have it tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, because the steps I have to take to get it over to here are not ones that I can probably make at this juncture. So I'll play some of that stuff for you tomorrow. Anyway, 508-996-0500 is how you can join me for the rest of the evening. 9 o'clock, we've got Brad Markey. Ward 1 City Councilor Brad Markey is going to be talking about the important pay raise issues. On the pay raise vote on the city council. We've talked to some I've talked to a couple of councilors so far about this, but Brad's been willing to come on and explain, give his version of the events and of those pay raises. So we're really looking forward to talking with him about that. Jack Spillane's got a really interesting piece on New Bedford Light, actually. Jack writes, he's an opinion columnist for them, and he talks about, what he sees as some of the divisions on the council. Now, we talked a lot about this yesterday during the first hour, and Tim is going to start having Council President Morad on for her weekly for the weekly segments with the council president, and looking forward to that. I'm glad Tim can continue that segment onto the next leadership, because I think that's really important, along with his midweek with the mayor segment. So there'll be a lot of dialogue there. But so basically, Tim had, talked to her about why, he thought it was, why she wanted to be council president again. And, how many times has she had the position? It's been 4 times. But probably the most interesting comment, honestly, it's a good piece. You should check it out on WBSM.com. But one of the most interesting comments is when she said her and Mayor Mitchell's relationship is quote unquote strained. So strained is the word she used for her and Mayor Mitchell's relationship. And she said it's going to take some give and take on both sides to repair it. Now, of course, I've said this before with elected officials, having served in an elected official role, I've served on boards where 2 people definitely don't like each other, right? But they work together. During that 2-hour meeting, you sit in the same room, you vote on stuff, and you work together. The relationship between a council president and a mayor in any city doesn't have to be, they don't have to personally like each other. And I'm sure it's not unique to New Bedford that the council president and the mayor don't get along. I'm sure that happens in a lot of places. I remember actually when Michelle Wu was on the city council and she had called Marty Walsh and let him know that she was running for mayor in 2021. Marty Walsh, this was before Biden was even elected, so Marty Walsh doesn't know he's going to the Department of Labor yet. And so instead of letting Wu make the announcement herself, Walsh just leaks it to the press, right? And there was a little bit of outrage and all that, and I'd be like, that's politics. But the city council and the mayor don't always have to get along. They don't have to get along. They just have to work together. They don't have to like each other. They just have to work together. And so you had Spillane has an interesting piece about how, Councilor Abreu and Morad could barely, shake hands or stand each other when they went to the podium. When Morad went to the podium to to be the council president. Ian Abreu was the only vote against Linda Morad in the in that meeting. And in the meeting that Councilor Rebeiro became council president, it was a 6-5 vote, and Councilor Morad didn't vote for Councilor Rebeiro either. It was a very tight, that was as tight of a vote as it could get. And so, then, he talks about the walkout, why Burgo said he walked out of the meeting, and why Burgo said he walked out of the meeting along with Councilor Pereira, Councilor Carney's, appropriate appointments and briefings meeting and all of that, and said, is there some deep divisions here? I've seen some Boston City Council meetings get vacuous. I'm sure there's other city councils across the Commonwealth that don't necessarily get along as much. You've got a lot of different personalities there that are all, elected on their own platforms, right? And have their own ideas. And of course, with elected officials, they've got their own, to be an elected official, you typically have to be a pretty strong-minded person, or you should be a pretty strong-minded person and be pretty firm about where you're at and how you feel about certain things. That doesn't mean you don't keep an open mind, of course. But typically, to get elected, it takes a pretty strong personality. And so sometimes you have 10, 11, or so, or in some cases, like in Congress, 435 strong personalities. And sometimes they don't always get along. And sometimes that does create a little bit of chaos. Going back to what's happening on the, you're seeing what's happening sometimes when a lot of that division really starts to rear its ugly head. Like when we're looking at what's happening with the Speaker of the House situation, I think there's some, I was thinking about this too. I think there's some interesting parallels, not parallels, but just more or less like similarities. They're not exactly the same, but more or less similarities between what's happening in Congress and what's happening with the Massachusetts Republican Party. They have been, there's been, and Jess Machado's really taken the lead on this issue. I think more so than anybody else really in the state has taken the lead on this issue about what's happening in the Massachusetts Republican Party and why they can't put together a cohesive, united front. And the reason they can't do that is because their leadership, first of all, they can't agree on who's going to lead them. And second of all, I think it's all centered around, which ideological flank of the party is really going to control things. And, the current chair in the Mass GOP, Jim Lyons, represents a more Trump ideologue, wing of the Republicans. And in Massachusetts, that's not going to work, right? And it looks like in Congress that might not work as well either. Even though Kevin McCarthy is a pretty firm Trump ally, he's not firm enough, apparently, not for the House Freedom Caucus. And so you've got similar divisions here. And what happened here is you saw Republicans were absolutely blanked. There isn't really a single, there is basically, in Plymouth County, you had Sheriff McDonald run unopposed. You had Tim Cruz handedly win an election against a very strong opponent. Plymouth County, one of the more conservative counties in the state, if not the most conservative county in the Commonwealth. But they still lost 2 county seats. They still lost a DA's race and a DA's race and a sheriff's race. Donna Buckley, actually, the sheriff of Barnstable County. I had her on probably about a month or so ago. It was maybe a couple weeks after she got elected. I had her on to talk about her platform. There was a lot of similarities between her run and Paul Hero's run for sheriff. And she actually just ended the 287G agreement for ICE, the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, of course. The 287G agreement, you'll remember Hodgson had a 287G agreement when and that was canceled by the Biden administration for a few reasons. But Barnstable County was the last county, I think, in New England that had one of those agreements. And I remember her, when I had her on, she said, it's like the very first thing I'm going to do is end that agreement. And she did. She just did it today. She signed the papers. There's a picture of it. And so I think a pretty interesting development there. But the point I'm trying to make is one of the reasons why Republicans weren't able to hold seats they've held for 2 decades is because they didn't have a coalesced, united party, as Democrats did. You saw Kim Driscoll come down and support Paul Heroux on multiple occasions. Maura Healey came down to Taunton to support Paul Heroux and support Democrats that were running tough races against Republican opponents like Carol Doherty up in Taunton. You saw them go down and support, Rob Galbois and Donna Buckley on Cape Cod for those races. And again, those elections were held. Those seats that they won were held by Republicans for 20 to 40 years, actually. The Rob Galbois on the Cape is the first DA that's been elected in 40 years. Actually, he's the first Democrat that's ever been elected to that seat, because that seat actually just when it got created, which is in the 70s, it was created basically by a Republican and held by a Republican for 40 years. So now a Democrat has that seat for the first time in almost half a century. And you saw them losing seats in the House. Obviously, Lenny Mira, as it stands, lost his rep seat by a single vote. That's currently in court. They're challenging that, and he's allowed to serve in the House until until that court case is complete, until the court makes a ruling on that challenge, and the other seat as well up in the Pepperell, up in Pepperell. But they lost seats. They lost a winnable Senate race in, Norfolk County. They lost a winnable Senate race that used to be held by Scott Brown. Scott Brown used to hold that Senate seat that Becca Rausch holds up in that area. And then Rep. Sean Dooley tried challenging for that seat, and he did not win. So, but the thing is, all the events that the Democrats held, I covered them. I went to and I didn't cover any of the Republican events because there weren't any. There wasn't a single, like, you didn't see Jeff Deal come down and support, you see Jeff Deal come down and support Tom Hodgson, right? Or Rayla Campbell or Jay McMahon. Part of that is because Tom Hodgson probably didn't want it. He probably didn't want it. He wanted Governor, he had Governor Baker come down, and Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito came down to support them and at his fundraisers, at his events. But typically you want the ticket to be united. If the ticket's united and you've got a strong ticket, that's how you win. People vote in a lot of cases. They do split tickets, but the top of the ballot always carries the bottom. And so what you're seeing in Congress is a lot like what you're seeing here. It's a Republican Party that doesn't know how to handle themselves. They don't know what direction they want to go in. Now, I think any party, there should be disagreements, right? There should be some more ideological flanks in each party, but to get to the point where you hold everything hostage in service of, and basically blowing everything up in service of getting things, of trying to get some symbolic gestures, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think it's disconcerting for a lot of people. I think it's the same thing here. When people see a united Democratic Party in Congress, united behind who they want to lead them and united in the direction that they want to go in, albeit some people have different ideas about which way to go, and you see a united Democratic ticket here in Massachusetts, where you saw, the Attorney General candidate, the Auditor candidate, Dinah Zaglio and Andrea Campbell, who are both now the Auditor and Attorney General. You saw the Governor candidate and Lieutenant Governor candidate, who are now the Governor and Lieutenant Governor, come down and support those down-ballot Democrats, right? Uniformly come down and support those down-ballot Democrats. And you didn't really see that with the Republicans. I mean, if Charlie Baker were running, if he was running again, he would have been, they would have been able to do that, I think. And I think you would have seen a lot of those successes that Democrats had go the other way. 508-996-0500 is how you can get to the program this evening. I'm going to take another break, and we'll be right back.
Download the WBSM app and listen to us everywhere. One's on the left, the other on the right. But they're both ready to call it right down the middle. More of Marcus and Chris on South Coast tonight, here on WBSM.
Welcome back, 508-996-0500. Good evening.
Hi, I spoke to you before. You said I could call back?
Of course.
Okay. I've been listening to the city council stuff on the radio as well. On Wednesday, the mayor talked about talking with the new president of city council, Ms. Morad, okay, and he seemed to be conciliatory. He seemed to say that, hey, yes, we got some differences, but, we got to talk, and there was a congratulations to her success at this and everything. So that's, to me, from the mayor, that's getting a lot out of the mayor, okay? Mm-hmm. And she seems like she wants to talk to him as well, recognizing that they've had differences in the past, okay? Yeah. But it seems like these differences can be overcome if the two of them don't get so full of themselves that they, blow up, and nobody talks to nobody. And I think there's a good possibility of coming down with stuff. Now, the mayor also said about the pay raise that he's going to sign this thing.
He's going to hold his nose and sign it.
Yeah.
That's what he said, actually.
Yeah. Because he felt he has to get this going to get city government going, and I take him at his word, and I'm holding my nose, too. I was hoping that the new young Turks in there that walked out of the meeting when they didn't think that there was a decent forum there would have taken a stand on this, too, and said, hey, look, we're in favor of a raise, but $50,000, people might...
Ryan Pereira had proposed in that meeting, he had proposed some of his own changes, but they weren't the $50,000 amendments that Moore had proposed.
Yeah. I had hoped in protest, even though if it didn't do anything, him and Pereira would have walked out of the meeting saying, this is too much. I don't think the median salary in New Bedford, resident is $50,000, or the average salary, No,
it's not. It's again, and it's not consistent with the pay raise everybody else got, and they're also in union. They're also in negotiations with the AFSCME union.
Yeah.
And that's going that dubious pay raise vote is going to impact those negotiations too. So the entire thing is still, until I get until everybody gets a clearer explanation on it, I still got to categorize it as wanton recklessness.
Yeah, I don't see how it can be explained, and especially after everybody gets their tax bill, which my taxes over the year, it's $100 a quarter, a little bit more than $100 a quarter, will go up $400. Yeah. Speaking from my modest house that I own, and I'm trying to keep a roof over my head on. So again, to have this largesse, okay, in tough economic times, hey, I'm sure that the animal control officer does a good job. I'm sure Mr. Beauregard, who runs the alcohol consumption bureau there, whatever they call it. I'm sure he's
that's not his position that got a pay raise.
Oh, I thought it was.
No. It's Nick Nanopoulos. He's the licensing director.
Okay. I got the wrong.
Yeah. It's not Steve Beauregard.
Yeah. I'm glad you changed me. Caught me on that. Yeah, and he's been there, I believe, quite a while too. Both gentlemen might be coming towards retirement, and maybe this is a reason for trying to give him, some praise. Well done, good and faithful servant. But
then what are they going to do? Knock the position down another $50,000 when the next guy comes in? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, they should knock the position down, I'm sure, once they do that. But maybe that might happen, because again, maybe they're trying to boost these gentlemen's salaries because they're anticipating going in the future.
It's not their job.
At that age,
That's not their job. That's not
whose job?
The city councils. They can't.
I know.
To arbitrarily shell out bonuses.
I agree with you. I'm holding my nose too. Yeah. I would hope that they could somehow review this and yes, give them some sort of raise. But not the exorbitant amount that they're getting. So we can say via con Dios, and off you go into retirement. That sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just, especially considering some of the cuts that have been made over the last year too, it's not consistent with it's not really, some of the cuts I thought a lot of people thought including the mayor too, were really really excessive. Like there were massive cuts to the wastewater budget, and there were cuts. You know, they cut like I think it was like $150,000 to $200,000 out of the $1 million borrowing package to rehab the old police station to expand the offices.
Well, and isn't this wastewater thing? If you don't get it done, you get fined by the federal government. Isn't that?
Well, it was just a cut to the operating budget in general.
Well, you would think you'd want to get that wastewater thing done so you don't have the feds on you.
You know, the other thing is I don't think DPI is probably the last. Public works in general is probably the last area that you want to make cuts because that's first of all, as a city council, just as a matter of practicality, or as any elected official, most elected officials, that's what gets you votes. Filling potholes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, and. That's the most essential government services that people expect, other than public safety. People expect running water and a paved street. So it seemed, like I said, those cuts, seeing some of the cuts that were made, and then seeing this, these three arbitrarily doled out pay raises, I think is just one of the things that's causing people to squirm a little bit.
Yeah, of course. And again, with most of the people just getting their increases in taxes, with people trying to hold on to their homes and stuff like that. So again, I think the timing was bad. I wish they could take a look at it again and maybe give these people an increase, but $50,000.
It's terrible.
Like I said, I'd like to know what the median salary is of the average New Bedford citizen. I don't think it's $50,000 of the average.
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah. So maybe something more down to that. Maybe it's, I don't know, 28,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so,
I get it. I mean, the thing is there was recommendations based on a survey that was done by a third party, right? That does this for a living. And even, it's, you're an elected official, you're a member of the legislative body. It's up to you to make changes. That's true.
Yeah,
but you still got to explain it, and they haven't done that. And again, it doesn't make any sense.
Nothing against Maciel, but I think he's getting more money than the animal control officer in Boston.
He is about 10,000 more. It's nothing against him personally at all. That's the whole problem. Is it's not actually about the people that currently hold the job. It's the job,
not the person.
It's not the person.
Idea.
That's the whole thing. Because these people that are in those jobs aren't going to hold them forever. I believe the licensing director is going to be retiring soon anyway.
Sure. I would assume so. Everybody deserves a chance to retire if they wish to, but not with this amount of largesse. It's a little ridiculous.
It's just like the and a lot of it is like the message it sends, too. That like this is sort of like this sort of indiscriminate type of spending in these areas for certain people that like they don't, that one or two counselors may like, and then the whole thing is just terrible.
Hopefully the voters will be informed by your programs and what's going on.
That's why we're here.
Maybe when it comes time for election time and they got to stand for election again, maybe they won't get as many votes as they got before. But the people got to get involved and do that. Just like years ago, John Saunders. If they don't like it, they can vote me out.
Well, the thing is with
he went on to a better job anyway. But that's besides.
He did a much better job. They did him a favor. But the thing is but John Saunders at the time was correct. The city council did deserve a pay raise. This is worse, I think.
Yeah, but you can't say it like that. If you don't like it, vote me out.
I know that was a mistake.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But this was certainly worse, and I just hope the people of New Bedford, I know we don't get much voter turnout, would pay attention to this. And when it comes time and you have to determine whether or not this person is your counselor in your ward or a counselor at large and that they didn't speak up for your interests, that you vote accordingly. Yeah. Again, the new young people on there have been very impressive to me. I've watched them on TV and everything. They don't look like rookies. And they seem like they're doing a pretty good job. I would have hoped on this.
I think they're doing a great job.
Hold on, Mr. President. Like that.
One of Ryan Pereira's very first things he did was discover that Noah's playground parking issue, which was huge.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah,
I
just wish on this they'd cut their own swath too.
Yeah, I know. So Brad's going to come on soon. Hopefully he can provide some more clarity on that.
Okay,
but
maybe we've led you up to that point then.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the call.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Bye.
The WBSM app is
Marcus Moore Healy just tweeted out, "It's me. Hi." Now that she's formally the governor. If you followed the governor's accounts on social media before, you've got to refollow them because it's the way it works. So now that the transition now that they've transitioned leadership. So it is now the era of Healy Driscoll. Welcome. And we're looking forward to continuing those conversations with them. Adam Bass is going to call in tomorrow. He was live at the inauguration, reporting on what's happening there. So looking forward to talking with him tomorrow, along with my co-host Chris McCarthy. So we'll definitely be, definitely have a good time. But Brad Markey is going to be calling in at 9, right after the news. He's going to give us a call. We'll talk about that pay raise vote. A lot of you have been following. We've been discussing here at WBSM. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that for sure. And of course, listen to our very important news programming. Maybe in the next news segment by ABC, you'll hear that there's a new Speaker of the House. Just kidding. You're not going to hear that. Still no Speaker of the House. But there'll probably be some other important news that you can follow. So definitely stay tuned for that. And our local news. Phil Devitt does a great job with our evening local news. That really, So there's that. Again, Brad Markey, Ward 1 City Councilor, going to talk about the pay raise votes. I'll see you then.